Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Today we've got a very exciting video. I actually got to play Call of Duty Vanguard early. Got to play the whole alpha / champion hill mode early. That of course is going to be going live later today for everyone on PlayStation as a part of the whole public alpha that they're hosting. And we got a lot to talk about. We got to talk about gameplay, how the game feels, how the guns feel, all sorts of different stuff, what you need to know about the mode. So much stuff to go over. So if you enjoy the video as we go over it all, let me know by dropping a like. Let's go for 3,500 likes on this video. Would be seriously appreciated. And of course, if you're new to the channel or if you have not already subscribed, this is the place to be for everything going on in COD. News, updates, intel, it is all right here. So feel free to subscribe with your notifications turned on. So yeah, I got to play Vanguard early. First off, I want to give a big thank you to Activision and Call of Duty and Sledgehammer for actually inviting me out to take part in this whole early capture session. Let me tell you, when I say that I was playing some absolute beasts, it is not an exaggeration. I'm sure you guys will see plenty of familiar names in the kill feed, both taking me out and then I'm taking out a few of them. We're talking some of the best players in Warzone and in Call of Duty in general right now in the content scene. So a lot of really cool people were in the lobbies. I'm sure you guys will recognize plenty of the names that I'm playing with and against. It was such a fun time. Like, I gotta say, I was very surprised. I do want to start off by saying when it comes to the gameplay, what you guys are watching is PlayStation 5 footage captured in 1080p 60 FPS. There was no FOV slider or anything like that, so I believe we're on just the base console 80 FOV. So that's what you guys are seeing in the gameplay. 60 FPS is what I'm playing on. That's what you guys are seeing. And same deal with the FOV. It's nothing crazy. That was one thing that I was like sort of iffy about going into it, and even with playing it versus PC where I'm usually on 120 FOV and playing with like 200 frames. It's a big difference going from PC to console and getting used to that again. So it was definitely a change up and a switch up for me, right? So it was a bit uncomfortable, but even though I was playing at 60 FPS, at 80 FOV, the game felt surprisingly good. Like, yeah, it wasn't the normal PC experience that I'm used to when I play Modern Warfare or Cold War or Warzone, but it was surprisingly good. I didn't think I was gonna be able to enjoy it as much as I did with having those whole console limitations on it, but that was a big plus for me, is actually how well it actually felt on console and with those limitations in place. So big ups for me on that. It seems like it ran very smoothly and it felt good in general. Now, outside of that, like I said at the start, we got a lot to talk about. I got a bunch of notes to go over. We're talking different perks, weapons, and just overall what the gameplay was like. I'm sure you guys will notice it from actually watching it and of course playing it later on. The game feels a lot like Modern Warfare, but it is not a one-to-one copy of Modern Warfare. Personally, I think that if it did feel exactly like Modern Warfare, that'd be kind of boring having a game that feels the exact same despite being new, right? So it feels similar to that. You're able to slide cancel a lot. The movement, the tack sprinting, everything like that feels very similar to what we have in Modern Warfare. But you do notice a sort of freshness to it, right? It feels newer and it feels upgraded in a sense. It really felt very smooth, and trust me, when I can get my hands back on a scuff, unlike on PlayStation 5, and I can play with my normal setup on PC, we're gonna be flying and frying on these maps. Mark my words, it'll be happening. But overall, the game did feel very good, and I was a big fan of the movement and how your character felt in the overall environment. Of course, another huge part of it is the gunplay, which I gotta say, gets a 10 out of 10 from me. We didn't have a huge selection of guns to use. We had about, I think, 12 that I'll go over in this video a little bit later on, so stay tuned for that. But the overall gunplay I felt was very good. Again, pretty similar to Modern Warfare's. Didn't seem like it was as arcadey as what we have with Cold War and some of the Black Ops titles. It felt a bit more realistic, and your guns really felt like they were reacting better than they have in the past. When I say that, I mean like when I would try and trace a player, one, I'm not used to playing on console, so my aim was all sorts of trash. Two, it actually felt like I was having to work to stay on target and work to actually land shots on an enemy. There's a bit of recoil. It's Call of Duty. The recoil is nothing like, you know, in CSGO or in Rust, so on and so forth. But it was noticeable. I tried to do some testing, and it seemed like there was predictive recoil on all the weapons that I tested with in like the pre-game areas. So that's something you can sort of learn the patterns off of. But you actually had to work some to, you know, stay on target. And the weapons just felt very good, in my opinion. They felt polished and finished and very smooth overall. I was a big fan of how the gunplay felt. The overall TTK was definitely a bit extended past Modern Warfare's, was not nearly as fast as MW's. I would say it was a bit closer to Cold War. It also just could have been the fact that I was missing a lot of shots because, like I said, potato aim was out in full force on the PlayStation, so I'm sure that has something to do with it, right? But the TTK felt good. I didn't feel like I was dying immediately. Like, I could take shots and say, all right, I gotta back off, you know, I'm one shot, I'm two shot, he's pushing from over here. It wasn't I'm shot, I'm dead, okay, time to respawn. Or even when you're in hand-to-hand gunfights, it felt like I had to put a lot of bullets into players sometimes to actually get that full kill. So gunplay, TTK movement, all felt great. Was a very big fan of that. Now let's talk in-game items, perks, and weapons, because you can change up your perks and you can change up your weapons and your streaks and all sorts of different stuff. The streaks aren't as impactful in my opinion. There were a few really good ones. We'll talk about those real quick. The UAV you can actually purchase for the spy plane. By far, in my opinion, the most dominant because it gives you information throughout the entire round that you're playing in. So that is a big bonus to have. Seeing those enemies pop up on the UAV is going to guarantee you information that is very advantageous when you only have a 12 life count overall. So the UAV was definitely my go-to streak. However, I had the chance to play against the flamethrower. I think at one point, basically I do work. Marcel had the flamethrower and he had like a juggernaut suit with it. It took so many bullets to kill him, and it was terrifying seeing him sprinting across the middle of Market, I think it was, with a flamethrower out. Trust me, not a good time. Flamethrower seemed pretty powerful, and the flanking gun, the turret, I got this in a round, and it was so much fun. I also was spawn trapped by it, so that was unfortunate. But two really good streaks in the flamethrower and the flanking gun. I'm probably mispronouncing that. And then, like I said, the spy plane is also super beneficial to use. The perks, I didn't mess around with too much because it didn't seem like a lot of them were super beneficial in this specific mode in Champion Hill. There were a few, though, that I did try out that I actually really liked, but we had a total of 6 options there. Scratch that, 7. Numbers are hard. We had Demolition, which gives you an extra lethal. Can be decently advantageous. The nades are pretty powerful in this game. Tracker shows up footprints and shows you where your enemies are running, just like it does in Warzone. Double time, faster movement, same deal as Warzone. Ghost. Let me tell you, you guys know how I feel about Ghost in Warzone. I hate the perk in general because I think it's broken. It works perfectly in Vanguard. It is undetectable by spy planes and all sorts of that stuff when you're moving, when you're planting or defusing, or when you're controlling streaks. But if you're posted up in a corner, bunkering down, putting the s'mores over the campfire, you're not going to be hidden on the UAV. It only works when you're moving, and I love that. That's how I feel Ghost should play in all games. So, big fan of Ghost, and it actually is pretty beneficial here in Champion Hill because if your enemies get that UAV, that's a lot of information they now have on you in a limited life mode. So, getting that information away from them and staying off the radar can be very powerful. We also have survival training, which is basically battle hardened against stuns and gas nades and whatnot. High alert, that works the same as Warzone. And forward intel shows you different indicators on the minimap when enemies are visible there. You get a bit more information out of that. And then there's also a larger shown area for forward intel as well, which can also be relatively advantageous. So overall, I think Ghost and High Alert were the two most beneficial perks to run, but forward intel was another one that I thought was also pretty good. Now, as far as the weapons go, like I said, we had a handful of different ones. Basically, we had rather, 2 different cycles of weapons. One that started you with the M1928 or the Thompson, then one that started you with the MP40. And depending on which starting one you had, it also changed up which weapons you could actually buy and upgrade in the actual buy station, in the buy rounds or buy arenas and whatnot. So when you had the Thompson round, you also had an option to get the bar, which is a pretty powerful rifle. If you put on the FMJ rounds on that, it was insanely good. There was also a shotgun in there, the machine pistol that you start with, the 3-line rifle, which I didn't think was a very good sniper, super slow ADS, wasn't really a big fan. Then there was also the DP27 LMG, which I loved. That was probably my favorite, ranged weapon out of the entire alpha playtest that we had. The DP27 fully upgraded. Hits like a truck. It can just wall bang everything. It was insanely good. The other side of things on the MP40, by the way, love the MP40. Definitely my best and favorite sub from this little play session. The Thompson just didn't feel right in my opinion. I didn't feel like it hit as much as the MP40 did. So I love the MP40 and the DP27. Those are my 2 favorites. But on the MP40 one, you also could use a different shotgun, the 1911, the STG44, which also was pretty dominant, the MG42, then the Kar 98K. I had a few snipes with that, and it felt all right. Definitely better than the 3-line rifle in my opinion, but a decent selection for weapons. But like I said, the MP40 I really liked. It felt very good, especially as you upgrade it in game. And then the DP27 I was a big fan of as well. But overall, I was definitely impressed. Like I said at the start, when I initially was invited to this and I saw that it was on PlayStation, I was very curious to see if I'd be able to have as enjoyable of an experience as I do on PC, with how smooth things are and with how well I'd be able to actually maneuver in game and experience the game for what it is. And despite playing on console, which I'm not really familiar with anymore, not super comfortable with anymore, it was very smooth, and I really did enjoy my time on it quite a bit. There were a few things that I wasn't a huge fan of, Like I said, and like I implied earlier, the console limitations were semi-unfortunate, but I think that'll be changed and whatnot as we get closer to launch. We've never seen an FOV slider in an alpha, and of course we have the 120 hertz options on PlayStation and whatnot now, also on Xbox. But really, my main only quarrel with gameplay was the spawns. Particularly, there were some spawns that were way too predictable on the little airstrip map. I can't remember the names of all of them off the top of my head, but on the airstrip map, the spawns on that, very predictable. There was one match I remember in specific where I was playing Biffle and Hector, and I was just getting spawn trapped by the Franken gun. Biffle was running around with that thing, and it was unbeatable. I stood no chance because he knew exactly where we were going to spawn and just getting fried by it, right? On the other hand, I think it's called Courtyard. You actually spawn staring directly with an enemy straight down. So if you had a Car 98K or a sniper out, you could literally stare at the enemy, and the second the round starts, shoot them and you get a free kill if you can outgun them, or outping them, I should say. So the spawns definitely needed some work. They were very predictable, and there was definitely some spawn trapping going on. They are obviously small maps, so there's only so many spawn points, but especially when it comes to the initial match starting, those spawns I do think could use some work. But outside of that, I didn't really have any quarrels with the gameplay. It felt very, very good, and we're only in an alpha. The game was only going to go up from here, right? So I was very impressed, and I really enjoyed my time on it. Of course, you guys will have access to this if you're on PlayStation 4 or 5 in a few hours from the time that this video goes live, but that's going to do it for this one. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, let me know by dropping a like on it. It would be seriously appreciated. And of course, if you are new to the channel or if you haven't already subscribed, feel free to do so. Click that sub button, click that bell icon. That way you'll always know whenever I post a new video. Once again, and as always, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I will catch you guys later. Peace out.